In the 1995 Hollywood blockbuster film Casino, his name was changed to Sam Ace Rothstein. But the real gambler, odds maker, mob associate, and casino boss who made it big in Las Vegas, his name was Frank Lefty Rosenthal. He was a native of Chicago, born June 12, 1929. His father was an honest, hard-working man who owned and operated a produce wholesale business. As with many fathers, it was his hope that his son would follow in his footsteps. But it wasn't meant to be. Dennis Griffin, author of the book The Battle for Las Vegas, echoed this conclusion. His father's business didn't appeal to the young Frank, who, as he grew up, became more interested in what was going on at racetracks and ballparks than in the price of oranges. By the age of 19, folks in and around Chicago began to take notice of Frank's ability to pick winners. His fame spread far and wide, and as a result, he was hired as a clerk by the Angel Kaplan Sports Service. Rosenthal was a good student and a quick study. He would learn from anybody who would take the time to teach him. His ability to calculate large numbers caused his friends to become concerned. In fact, a few often warned him that his head would one day explode from all the facts and figures he kept in there. By the time he was in his mid-20s, Frank, or Lefty as his friends called him, was one of the nation's top handicappers, and he was quickly becoming an important asset to the Chicago outfit and their illegal gambling operations. And though things seemed to be going well for the young mob associate, trouble was just around the corner. His boyhood friendship with well-known mobster and hitman Tony Spilotro and his association with other made members of the outfit landed his name on a list of known gangsters and gamblers by the Chicago Crime Commission. Lefty was eventually indicted as a co-conspirator for multiple counts of bribery and sports fixing. Desiring anonymity, he decided to leave the Windy City and moved his entire operation to North Bay Village just outside of Miami. But the arm of the Chicago outfit had a long reach, and Lefty found out that old habits were hard to break. He was seen by law enforcement hanging out with two longtime outfit members, Jackie Cerrone and Fiore Bussieri, and the cat, so to speak, was out of the bag. Rosenthal was back in the sights of not only local police, but the FBI. He was served with a subpoena to appear before Senator John McClellan's committee, which was investigating illegal gambling and organized crime throughout the country. During the proceedings, he invoked his Fifth Amendment right 37 times, but was never formally charged with a crime. It made little difference. Much to his chagrin, Lefty found himself barred from any racing establishment in the state of Florida. And as if this weren't enough, in 1964, his old boyhood pal Tony Spilotro showed up in Miami, bringing more attention and heat on the wannabe low-profile gangster. Rosenthal soon realized that Miami, with its warm weather, scantily clad sunbathers, and white sandy beaches, was paradise lost. So Lefty packed his bags and left town. But where could he go? Where could he find a home which appreciated his gifts and talents? He settled on the upcoming and ever-increasing boomtown of Las Vegas. Upon arrival, Rosenthal invested in a few local businesses, and his connections and schemes quickly moved him up the ladder of Vegas moneymakers. He was tapped by the outfit to be their man to secretly run 4 mob-controlled casinos: the Fremont, Marina, Hacienda, and the ever-popular Stardust. Lefty had ideas, big ideas, and people were willing to listen. He created the first sports book that operated from within a casino, making the Stardust one of the world's leading centers for sports gambling. Another Rosenthal innovation, in fact a stroke of brilliance, was to allow female blackjack dealers, something which had never been tried before. Incredibly, this move alone doubled the casino's annual income. And the bosses back in Chicago were, well, to say they were pleased would be an understatement. But then a tragic event took place in Lefty's life. Again quoting Dennis Griffin, in 1968, something happened that had a major impact on his life, and eventually the lives of several others. Lefty fell in love. In the movie Casino, the part of Lefty's wife was played by Sharon Stone, a head-turner to say the least. But this could be one instance in which Hollywood may have not captured the beauty of the real person being portrayed. Geraldine Geri McGee was a ravishing beauty. She had worked as a topless showgirl and a hustler in and around Vegas for years. When Lefty saw her, it was love at first sight. Well, at least for Lefty it was. Rosenthal assured the young beauty that she would be well cared for and never have to want for anything her whole life if she would become his wife. Though doubts and reservations filled her mind, Geri finally gave in, and the two were married on May 4th, 1969. At first, the arrangement seemed perfect. Geri loved to spend money, and Lefty, her husband, well, he made a lot of money. They both seemed happy and satisfied in the relationship. But two events happened which put their wonderful life in peril. Lefty was again indicted for bookmaking. This incident, coupled with his longtime association with known organized crime figures, could put his application for a casino license with the Nevada Gaming Control Board in jeopardy. But Lefty set out to prove himself a straight shooter and a hard worker. He kept his nose clean and wouldn't allow anyone or anything to come between himself and his casinos. But all that changed in 1971 when Anthony Spilotro again showed up. Rosenthal was making so much money for the outfit that many speculated that Spilotro was sent to Vegas by Chicago boss Joseph Aiuppa to watch over Lefty, protecting their cash cow. But things didn't actually work out that way. Spilotro went far beyond the mandate given to him by the bosses. He quickly set himself up as the king of the strip, demanding a street tax from other mobsters. He brought in a gang of expert thieves who became known as the Hole-in-the-Wall Gang, and he put money on the street, charging exorbitant amounts of interest to anyone who asked for a loan. In 1976, when authorities discovered that Lefty was secretly running the 4 casinos without a Nevada gaming license, they held a hearing to determine his eligibility. The committee was chaired by future Democratic Senator Harry Reid, and Rosenthal was quickly denied a license. One of the reasons cited was due to his association with known gangsters, particularly Anthony Spilotro. After being denied the license, Lefty took the nondescript title of entertainment manager, which didn't require a license, but it was common knowledge that he was still running the show. To help bolster his title, he began a weekly television variety program called The Frank Rosenthal Show, which featured celebrities such as Frankie Valli, O.J. Simpson, and Robert Conrad. He also used the forum to attack the Nevada Gaming Board, going on long rants about how unfair they had been to him during the investigation. The show was considered a failure by most, but the low ratings aside, the bosses in Chicago didn't like the exposure and told Lefty to drop it. From this point on, things only got worse. His wife, Geri Rosenthal, was extremely unhappy in the marriage, regretting the decision to tie the knot. She began drinking and taking drugs as a way to escape. Then a rift developed between Lefty and his old childhood pal Tony Spilotro. Spilotro had plans to expand his power and criminal empire throughout Sin City, and when Lefty wouldn't support his actions, he took it as a personal affront. Spilotro got angry, and Lefty became very nervous. The marriage between Lefty and Geri continued to deteriorate. In 1978, she admitted to her husband a fact which he had already suspected, that she was having an affair. But when she revealed the name of her lover, a cold chill crept its way down Rosenthal's spine. It was Anthony Spilotro. Everything was now spinning out of control. Rosenthal feared Tony might have him whacked. After all, Lefty could pick up the phone and call back east, informing Spilotro's superiors about the affair. If he did, Spilotro's life might not be worth spit. And what motivation did Tony have to keep his old friend around? Then again, the bosses in Chicago might have them all whacked. They might conclude that the whole thing was just a messy affair and one which interfered with business. Lefty begged his wife not to tell Spilotro he knew about the affair, It could mean the end of them all. Lefty and Geri finally divorced. Rosenthal attributed the failure of the marriage primarily to his wife's inability to control her alcohol and drug addictions. After leaving Rosenthal and stealing a substantial portion of his savings, Geri died at a motel in Los Angeles on November 9, 1982, of an apparent drug overdose. She was 46 years old. 1 month before her death, the Grim Reaper would come for Rosenthal. A bomb was attached to the gasoline tank of his car, set to go off when it was started. Surprisingly, he survived, but only because of a manufacturing irregularity that was unique to his particular make and model. A metal plate was installed under the driver's seat, which General Motors added to correct a balancing problem on the 1981 Cadillac Eldorado. The steel plate shielded Lefty's body from most of the explosion's force. Although no one was ever charged for the assassination attempt, Milwaukee mob boss Frank Ballesteri was considered by many to be the most likely responsible. Ballesteri blamed Rosenthal for the legal problems the mob-controlled casinos were suffering. Other suspects included Anthony Spilotro, or the outlaw biker gang, who had befriended the former Geri Rosenthal. The end result? Another paradise lost for Frankie Lefty Rosenthal. He was permanently banned from Las Vegas in 1987 when his name was placed in the Black Book next to Anthony Spilotro's. This made Lefty persona non grata, unable to work in or even enter any Nevada casino. After a brief stay in California, Lefty moved back to the Sunshine State, settling first in the resort town of Boca Raton. His last move was to Miami Beach, where he ran a sports betting website and worked as a consultant for several offshore sports betting companies. He died of natural causes on October 13, 2008, at the age of 79. His last days were filled with regret with what could have been.